And there you have your staged assassination. So it's not, and that's another thing too. All these psyops. Glad we're talking about that subject right now too, because that brings up the next thing we're going to get into, which I want people to understand. This is not about Donald Trump just becoming a dictator of the American people, as much as what is to really happen next. And me and King Ozma stumbled upon this earlier, where I was actually looking up the chemtrails in the sky. And I noticed that the Air Force actually had a document that said, that had the date on it of 2025. So it made me wonder if Project Bluebeam is going to happen in 2025. Now, what is Project Bluebeam? Project Bluebeam is supposedly the fake second coming of Jesus, right? We're going to watch Project Bluebeam part 1 and 2 right now, just so you guys are familiar. Like I said, while we have the amount of people in here and I have the audience, I would like to share as much information as I can with people. That way everybody is all aware at the same time.
Canadian government official is warning we may be on the verge of intergalactic war, saying, quote, the Bush administration has finally agreed to let the military build a forward base on the moon, which will put them in a better position to keep track of the comings and goings of visitors from space and to shoot at them if they so decide.
I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space, because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over. And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
Pardon me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but doesn't this make sense? I mean, if in fact...
Now, I want y'all to think about something, right? What have y'all been hearing over the past couple of years? Y'all been hearing nothing about aliens are here, right? Right? You hear nothing about aliens are here. Look in the sky. Aliens are here. And, of course, like I said, the past couple of months, you had the face in the moon, right? All of that has been happening. Like I said, we're in the time of revelations here. But, like I said, this right here was about, I want to say, 14 years ago? This documentary came out about 14 years ago. Okay? So, think about that. And a lot of the things that you're going to hear are happening right now.
There are extraterrestrials and they're buzzing our planet. Why wouldn't we want to take steps to defend ourselves from them?
The rapture is one of the most controversial topics in all of theology. Some Christians believe in it, all atheists mock it, and the New World Order may very well attempt to fake it. What would discourage Christians more than seeing New Agers, Buddhists, cult leaders, and corrupt con artist Christians raptured, while the Bible-believing faithful are, in essence, left behind? Why wouldn't the New World Order attempt to unite all the world's religions behind one deity by including them all in such an apocalyptic event? Surprisingly, the U.S. government actually admits to thinking about the use of this technology, though it denies it's followed through with such implementation. In an article entitled Bees on the Battlefield and Other U.S. Military Experiments, published by the British news agency The Guardian on June 18, 2007, it discusses strange government projects, and I quote, "Then there's the prophet hologram, the projection of the image of an ancient god over an enemy capital, whose public communications have been seized and used against it in a massive psychological operation." An Israeli cybernetics expert named Yitzhak Hayutman has even gone as far as to lobby the Arab world to allow him to project a holographic temple above the Dome of the Rock in an effort to summon whichever savior should take notice of it and actually show up. But does it even matter? Does this technology even exist? Or is it just crazy conspiracy theory? Let's take a look at the Army Research Lab, Adelphi, Maryland's progress report from November 96 through August 97. The session number ADA 3338490. The topic? A 3D holographic display using strontium barium niobate. Its abstract states, an innovative technique for generating a three-dimensional holographic display using strontium barium niobate is discussed. The resultant image is a hologram that can be viewed in real time over a wide perspective or field of view. The holographic image is free from system-induced aberrations and has a uniform high quality over the entire field of view.
So we have that technology right now. Shout out to Bias Fuck You 93. Thank you so much for the cash app. God bless you for that. I really do appreciate that. But as you guys can see here, the military has plans already and documents how they can project an entire god over an entire city if they would like to, right? You've seen the hologram shows, even the drone shows, right? You've seen the hologram shows at these gaming shows. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you something real quick. I want to show you. I'm glad we're on this topic right now. But like I said, you've seen, like I said, the Chinese drone shows. You've seen hologram shows all the time, right? I want to see if we can see gaming ad outside. Or Gaming Awards ad outside. Where's this right here? This right here is going to blow your mind, bro. So while we're talking about this, right, I want once again to emphasize the fact that we have this technology, okay? And if the military has this type of technology, just imagine the things that we're showing right now out here, right? 2024. Who saw the Game Awards last year? Who saw the ad that was outside the Game Awards last year? And they had that giant projection out there. Where am I at? The 4-minute mark? Real quick, I'm going to play this real quick for y'all. Bro. Yo, what the fuck? That was an ad outside the Game Awards. Scared the hell out of everybody outside.
I'm so ready for that. Yeah, look at it with the trees and shit. It's so crazy.
It's moving the trees.
Definitely telling us.
Wow.
That was outside of the Game Awards last year. Hyper-realistic hologram outside the Game Award. That was just last year. Okay, so once again, if you don't believe that that technology is real, think again. Think of fucking again, y'all.
Entire field of view. Interesting. Well, we've seen the chemtrails, and there's a lot of speculation about what they're being used for. Weather control and mind control are at the top of the list. But as you'll see in a second, chemtrails have been directly linked to barium, which is one of the main components of the Army's 3D holography display.
Could a strange substance found by a southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention. Well, tonight, KSLA News 12 investigation reporter Jeff Farrell shows us the results of testing we had done about what's in our skies.
It seemed like some mornings it was just crisscrossing the whole sky. It was just like a giant checkerboard.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
You know, because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
According to Section 5.6 of a military research paper entitled An Operational Analysis for Air Force 2025, an application of value-focused thinking to future...
What's that say right there? Air Force 2025? A research paper presented to Air Force 2025. That's next year, y'all. That's next motherfucking year.
Air and space capabilities. Military brainstorming as of May 1996 was researching, constructing, yet again, another holographic projection system. This time they were looking to implement an airborne holographic projector that would display a three-dimensional visual image in a desired location removed from the display generator. The projector can be used for psychological operations and strategic perception management. It is also useful for optical deception. The picture you see here speaks for itself. This isn't depicted as a ground-based weapon, but rather one that would project a deceptive image hologram in the air. Could the chemtrails play a role in this? I'm no scientist, so I can't tell you absolutely yes or even maybe. But the chemical connection, barium, along with the military's own documents, lead me to think in that direction. But if they've got some kind of crazy projection system, that in and of itself isn't going to convince anyone of anything. Unless, of course, God is a mute and he's going to come in complete silence. Let's face it, even the most action-packed movies are boring without some kind of a stunning soundtrack.
So, of course, this is the part where they're going to talk about how they're going to use the actual sound effects. Well, I mean, you actually saw just now in the video, yes, we can very much so show you that you can hear that same augmented reality projection in the sky, and it sounds very real. So as you heard just in the audio of the Game Awards, it sounded like an actual portal opening up in the fucking sky. The trees were moving, everything, the whole shebang. Yeah, it was Ghostbusters VR game ad. Yes, they do have those billboards also in China, as well as in Japan. It's called augmented reality. They have those billboards. They have a lot of those different ads now here today.
Well, just in time for it to be exploited in the very same way, the technology now exists to beam sound right into your head. Strategy.com reports in an article entitled Death Ray Replaced by the Voice of God that the U.S. Navy is using non-lethal systems called LRAD, or Long Range Acoustic Device. This is being used right now in the Persian Gulf. Many small fishing and cargo boats ply these waters, and it's often hard to get the attention of the crews. With LRAD, you just aim it at a member of the crew and have an interpreter speak to the sailor. It was noted that the guy on the receiving end was sometimes terrified, even as he realized it was a large American destroyer that was talking to him. This apparently gave the Army guys some ideas, for there are now rumors in Iraq of a devilish American weapon that...
Crazy was worded even like that, too. Even though it was just a large American destroyer that was talking to him. Yes, I can be fucking terrified if a damn battleship or something is talking to me and I don't know it's that.
Makes people believe they are hearing voices in their heads. And then there's the A&E television series called Paranormal State, which you...
Who remembers this show right here? This is how far back this is, yo. This is how far back the technology of this shit actually goes. This is back when Paranormal State was out. And if you remember in New York City, they actually had these billboards and ads up. But let's keep playing this real quick.
It's a clever combination of a large billboard and cutting-edge technology to beam frightening ads directly into people who were walking near the show's billboard in the heart of New York City. The advertising website MediaBuyerPlanner.com writes in an article entitled Billboard Whispers into Pedestrians' Ears for A&E's Paranormal State that an ad for A&E's ghost-themed series Paranormal State uses technology to transmit an audio spotlight from the rooftop speakers in New York's Soho directly into the ears of passers-by. Here's a sample showcasing how this concentrated sonic beam works.
So this wasn't like someone was just passing by and they could just hear it in the air. This was the person videotaping them hear it in their head. So as they were going by, you can literally hear it close, like someone just whispering by your ear. Who's there? Someone behind you. You hear that? Like someone right behind your head whispering to you.
There are literally dozens of patents dealing with ways of beaming sonic transmissions directly into people's minds. This was once called telepathy. Today it's just modern-day technology and advertising. Yes, I understand this sounds absolutely bizarre. Where's the proof? Where is it? We've recently seen Al Gore and Prince Charles appear in holographic form. But do we actually know of any such encounter we can attribute holographic technology as to having been used as part of a supernatural psyop? I believe we do.
It's kind of a face up there.
This is the face by the moon. Face. This is one of them.
All right. Y'all see that? Now that's the face, people. It's up there again.
Sherry, come look at this.
It's up there again. There's the face. This is not an app. It's a face. Everybody's out here. Everybody's out here looking. We're coming out here to see. What if I gotta get this. Y'all see that?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Now,
whose face does it actually look like? I'll leave your imagination to that, but whose face does it actually look like? They got shot at today.
Hold up, let me zoom so everybody can see it. Nice. Zoom on it. Hey, y'all need to call somebody. Yeah.
Where's the other phone?
Tell them we're out here, what we're looking at. Now, y'all. Watch this. Watch this. All right, so I got my light on. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Woo! They up there, boy. They are up there.
People thinking it's aliens.
Today is the February 22nd, I believe. It is. Okay, I got some light. It's February 22nd. As you see, I have not cut away. There's no extra clippings. What you get is what you see. What you get is what you see. What you get is what you see. That's it right there, son. That's that one right there, son. Yeah, son. So it's February.
These were people catching the face by the moon. And that's the crazy part. This was at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Groups of people were seeing this face by the moon, which looks like I said, almost like the guy that got shot today. Looks a little bit identical to his face by the moon. I'm just saying. But what we're talking about, Maddie, is Project Bluebeam and how they're basically going to fake this second coming, okay, that is in the Bible. They're going to fake the Left Behind scenario, okay? And if you didn't watch the first part, Project Bluebeam that we were looking at, it basically broke down the chemtrails, how they're going to be spraying those through the sky throughout the years. And, of course, that was a documentary that was made about 14, 15 years ago. Actually, no, it might have been even longer than that. But it was basically explaining how those chemtrails are actually going to be causing the LED screen that is in the sky right now. That LED screen is going to help the augmented reality omit whatever they want to put in the sky, a projection of a god, aliens coming, an invasion, so on and so forth. They can pretty much make it look like that's attacking you right now. As well as when we showed the Game Awards and that clip of the Game Awards outside, there was a projection. I think Fury B said it was the Ghostbusters VR game ad, and it looked like it was a guy that was just a ghost almost that was reaching out of a hole, a portal in the sky, and just reaching out at people. That arm basically was just moving the entire trees. So it wasn't like you couldn't feel the actual projection. If that arm was to actually reach out and smack somebody, it would have actually felt that. I'm not joking. If the trees were actually moving from the arm reaching out, I'm pretty sure a person could feel the projection if they were actually close up on it. So now we're going to look at part 2 of Project Bluebeam.
There are literally dozens of patents dealing with ways of beaming sonic transmissions directly into people's minds. This was once called telepathy. Today it's just modern-day technology and advertising. Yes, I understand this sounds absolutely bizarre. Where's the proof? Where is it? We've recently seen Al Gore and Prince Charles appear in holographic form, but do we actually know of any such encounter we can attribute holographic technology as to having been used as part of a supernatural psyop? I believe we do. It's just a matter of looking at information. ABC News by ex-CIA spy John Kiradu. The topic was waterboarding. Kiradu came out in an un-CIA-like fashion and proclaimed that waterboarding is torture. On the ABC News website, in an article entitled "Coming in from the Cold, CIA Spy Calls Waterboarding Necessary But Torture," the ex-spy described the effectiveness of waterboarding on captured al-Qaeda member Abu Zubaydah, and I quote, John Kiradu, now retired, said the technique broke Zubaydah in less than 35 seconds. The next day, he told his interrogator that Allah had visited him in his cell during the night and told him to cooperate. Now, hold it for just 1 second. We believe this man is telling us the truth because he's playing nice and claiming that waterboarding is a bad thing. But look at what he just said. He's implying that when someone is tortured, they just have to say uncle, and then we stop. You would think that if Zubaydah was cracked in 35 seconds, that would mean he was spilling the beans only seconds after that. As in, okay, fine, I'll talk, please, no more. Not, oh my goodness, I'm glad you stopped. I didn't like that very much. I guess I'll go get some sleep, and I'll think about maybe telling you something tomorrow.
So think about that, right? He said that Allah came to him in his sleep. He pretty much saw a holographic projection of Allah in real time. He pretty much woke up out of his cell. They pretty much woke him out of his cell, had a holographic projection of Allah come talk to him and pretty much tell him, yo, I need you to just tell all the information. So same exact thing could happen here, right? Funny thing you asked that, Zane. What are they going to do with the so-called people that are quote-unquote left behind, right? So this is the fake second coming, right? So there's not going to be actually people that are going to be floating through the sky. They're going to make it look like there are people floating through the sky. Thus, there are people that are going to think that they're actually being left behind. So those people that are so-called left behind are going to be under the dictatorship. This is how they can pretty much seal the deal on the Project 2025. This is how they pretty much can make you say, hey, it's either you go with what we're saying, what we're going to do, or you pretty much die. That is your options. You go to jail, die, or go with what we have. That is your options. That is what Project Bluebeam is all about. That is the goal of Project Bluebeam and why Project 2025 is so important to it. It's basically to say, hey, you either go with our policies or you do not.
And if we are to believe that it was indeed the waterboarding that broke him, then why would he bother telling his interpreter that Allah had visited him in his cell during the night and told him to cooperate? His interrogator knew he was waterboarded. He wasn't going to save any face with his interrogator. Remember, they broke him the day before, and they didn't get any information out of a quote-unquote broken man until the next day after he claimed Allah came to him in his cell and told him to cooperate. I'm not making this up. Watch for yourself. Pay attention to the body language. You decide for yourself if this makes any logical sense.
And that was one of the techniques?
Waterboarding was one of the techniques, yes.
And was it used on Zabeta?
It was.
And was it successful?
It was.
What happened as a result of that?
He resisted. He was able to withstand the waterboarding for quite some time, and by that I mean probably 30, 35 seconds.
That's quite some time.
Which was quite some time. And a short time afterwards, in the next day or so, he told his interrogator that Allah had visited him in his cell during the night and told him to cooperate because his cooperation would make it easier on the other brothers who had been captured. And from that day on, he answered every question just like I'm sitting here speaking to you.
In a willing way?
In a willing way.
So in your view...
And after watching that, I can only come to one conclusion. This man was not waterboarded. If he was waterboarded, he was not broken during the waterboarding. He was broken through a psyop.
Exactly. He was broken during the psyop and manipulated through the holographic projection. What's going on, Tay? God bless you, brother, being up in here. Yes. Who's that? Boom Bap Streeps. What's goody, my brother? Yes, we also talked about the Trump shooting. We talked about the Trump shooting, but we got into this because it coincides with the Trump shooting. Because the Trump shooting happened because Project 2025 started to be very clear and imminent to a lot of people. A lot of people started getting wind of what Project 2025 actually was and the conservative policy program that's going to be put in place of the dictatorship if Trump is actually become president. And being that people started to become wind of it, this particular shooting started to happen. Okay, and then of course we broke down bringing up Dick Gregory in the interview where he talked about there were two Trumps. And of course, if you notice today, there was a Trump. There are two Trumps in there. Blue tie and there's a red tie, right? Notice today there was only the red MAGA hat. There was no tie at all on that Trump. Thus, a lot of people are thinking that this particular Trump that got shot, this was a staged event here. Also, we broke down the fact that this could actually be a blading technique. If you watch pro wrestling, you see blading techniques. When he got grazed by that bullet, of course, didn't move his head or anything like that. Why weren't it was just a lot of questions that were being asked, of course. Enjoy your life, family, and this physical experience. Buck everything else. Yes, that's very true. God bless if that is the real Simba that we have here in this chat. Y'all give a shout out to Simba. God bless if that is the real Simba in this chat. I'm a huge fan. Let's get back into Project Bluebeam 2. Well, like I said, this man was definitely broken during the manipulation of the hologram that came to him. So bringing up to speed for everyone once again, this is about augmented reality and hologram projections that are basically going to be fooling us with the second coming of the Lord. And what they're going to do is they're going to make it look like, of course, for the Christians, the second coming of Jesus over here. Then you have over in Asia, you have Buddha, so on and so forth.
If he was broken from the torture, he would have spilled the information right then and there. I think what you're seeing here is an experimental use of cutting-edge holographic technology to see if people will buy it, to see if it's believable. And just in case I'm right, I have to do what I'm about to do. In the Bible, Jesus was very clear about what his return would be like. In Matthew 24, his disciples asked him point blank, what is the end of the world going to be like? And starting in verse 4, Jesus answered them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So he warns us, don't be fooled. And then again in verses 23 through 26, we read, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. And then in verse 36 we read, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. No man knows the hour. If anyone out there believes in a pre-trib rapture, I'm not going to argue the point. Just be sure you're spiritually prepared just in case. Pride enables us to believe we aren't appointed to physical wrath, while Christians all over the globe are being hunted and killed like animals. Spiritual wrath, however, is something very different from physical wrath, and we're promised salvation, and as such...
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It is a physical, is a psychological operation, okay? And they are pretty much going to conduct a worldwide psyop on the nation, is what's going to happen. That is just it's going to get crazy out here. Y'all think times are wicked right now? Shit is only going to get crazier from here. Shit is only going to get crazier from here. I almost want to play the intro for the outro from yesterday. I think I'm not even gonna play Drop a Gem on them. I'm probably gonna play the intro from last night for the night, honestly, because that's really how we're feeling right now. Like, the Trump shooting is only the beginning of them trying to. What's good, Hippie TV? The Trump shooting is them pretty much implementing what is going to happen with Project 2025. What I mean by that is they're pretty much they're pretty much making it so you're having some type of sympathy for Trump, right? And so that now you want to vote for Trump even more by him supposedly getting shot now. Notice this is also, I'm going to keep saying this, we're about to have a president that is the first convicted felon, 7-time bankruptcy champion. Okay, this is who we have as our. That's what we're gonna have as our president. And as you heard Dick Gregory say, and Simba earlier, this is gonna be our last president. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is our last dictator for America, and unfortunately, America is being manipulated to choose him. That is the importance of, once again, the steps and process of Project Bluebeam, is that it's going to have a manipulated dictator. You're going to be manipulated into choosing Trump because you're going to say to yourself, that's who we want. And then when it's too late, you're going to say, oh, no, we didn't understand. This also comes at the height of Kamala Harris's speech yesterday, I believe, or was it 2 days ago, I believe.
If reelected, he will be a dictator on day one. And I will, quote, terminate the United States Constitution. Let us be very clear. Someone who suggests we should, quote, terminate our Constitution should never again have the chance to stand behind a microphone and never again have the chance to stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
Prosecutors in the House, and no one can deliver a read on a criminal like an ex-prosecutors. That was Vice President Kamala Harris at a campaign stop in Greensboro, North Carolina yesterday, highlighting the fundamental threat posed to all Americans by a second Trump term. It comes as allies of Kamala Harris have launched an effort to boost the vice president and defend her against more vicious attacks from Donald Trump, as uncertainty continues to swirl at some levels in some parts of the party about whether Joe Biden will remain at the top of the Democratic ticket. Joining our coverage, NBC News Washington correspondent.
Let's go back to Rachel Scott. Rachel was there when it happened. She was live on World News moments before. And then, Rachel, I know that you've been escorted out. Take us sort of where you've been taken at this venue and what you can see now.
So right now, we're not far from where this rally took place. So stick with me here. I want to give you just sort of a lay of the land here. So right where those porta parties are, and you see the flag that's hanging there, that is where the rally occurred. You see these white tents. We talked a little about security. You asked me what the security precautions are when Trump supporters come to these rallies. They are checked. They go through their bags. They go through metal detectors. They are screened by Secret Service. Right now, you have members of Trump that were in this Trump rally that are leaving right along here, that are being escorted sort of out of this area so that they can tighten this area off. I can tell you, we were inside, we were live on the air with you, and Secret Service asked everyone to leave. So we had, as press, to leave everything that we could on the riser. We're now being pushed a little bit further out, but just stay with me here. We're just gonna keep walking. We had to leave our cameras inside, so our producer, Layli Ipsa, is filming as we're walking and being escorted out of this rally. So just stick with us here. Just chaotic, intense moments that played out here, and just the sense of panic that we heard, screams from people that were hearing these popping sounds and then ultimately got down for cover. Now this area is sort of being cleared out, but this was the way in which you had Trump supporters enter this rally before they were screened. I could tell you just hours ago, this was filled with long lines of people, people waiting to get in, people who are excited to see the former president. Right now you have people that are just confused, that are in a state of panic, that are wondering sort of what happened and what unfolded. I will also note it's an extremely hot day here in Pennsylvania. You had a number of people that felt like they were already being overheated, so much so that the seats toward the front of the rally were actually prioritized for those who felt like they needed to take a seat, or those who were elderly, or those who felt like the conditions were just getting too much for them. As we were on the air, you saw the scene as I took you through it. You saw those chairs being toppled over. That was a sign of just how much panic there was in the moment, with people just trying to get to the ground. But for now, here is what I can tell you. We've cleared out of this area. We know that Secret Service has roped it off. This has now just become a gathering point for people that were in the rally. As I mentioned to you before, there's so many people that are inside of these rallies that oftentimes the cell phone reception isn't really great. So we see a lot of people that are out here that are on the phones, probably connecting with their loved ones and families, letting them know that they're okay, letting them know they're probably leaving this area as well. But this is the current scene right now. We've been escorted out. We were told to leave everything there for now, and we were told that we'd be able to go back inside to gather the rest of our belongings once police have cleared the area.
Rachel, first of all, we are so glad you and your team are okay, and your reporting has just been excellent throughout this entire campaign, and especially tonight as well. Tell us a little bit more about what happened in the crowd. You described this a moment earlier, but we have some new viewers likely joining our coverage. You said that after those popping sounds occurred, that it did appear that law enforcement rushed a specific area or person in the crowd?
Yes. Yeah, so it was this sort of split screen that we saw play out with. First, initially, we heard this series of popping noises. Then we heard screams from the crowd, people shouting, "Get down, get down." We were on the press riser. We had just finished doing World News Tonight with you, Whit. We were live on the air. And just minutes after the former president took the stage, this is when all of this happened. He had only been on the stage for a matter of minutes. So you hear these popping noises. And then after that, what we hear were screams. We all looked, turned over our shoulders, of course. We see Secret Service agents swarm the former president. They rush and shield him, essentially, using their bodies as shields to get the former president down. Also, then, if I'm standing on the riser, it was over my right shoulder. What we saw was then Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials swarm another area that was on the riser. And there we saw, I'm not sure if it was one person, I am not sure if it was multiple persons, but what we saw was Secret Service and law enforcement agents swarm that area in particular and then escort someone out of that area. So we have no idea necessarily what exactly happened during that time. We know that there were people that were just getting down during that moment, and there were screams. Then it took several minutes. First, we saw the former president being rushed out. Obviously, what we saw was the former president. You've seen those images. He stood up, he put his fists up, and it was a sign and signal that he was okay. The crowd then cheered. And then after the former president was rushed into his own vehicle and that vehicle was taken away, then we saw that separate area clear where Secret Service agents and law enforcement agents had surrounded possibly another individual, and that person was then taken away. It was only then did we start to see the crowd sort of clear. And there was this sort of moment, Whit, where people didn't necessarily know what exactly to do, whether or not it was safe to leave. People were looking around, asking if it was okay. We're hearing a helicopter right now. You can see it there that's taking off right now. And then we saw law enforcement officials. They came out. They started putting crime scene tape to rope off that area. Members of the press, we were sort of the last ones that were escorted out and told to leave. We were told to leave everything behind. But there were certainly these moments where people were just very confused, didn't know exactly what happened, and were rushing to just sort of exit the area as Secret Service and law enforcement officials were trying to block off the area where this occurred with.
It's on, y'all. This is the times that we are in. This is the times that we are in. And once again, the reason why this pod is so everybody's third eye is open and aware of the shit that they are seeing in front of them. Be aware of the shit that you are seeing in front of you. Speaking of billboard ads, do y'all remember this when New York City skies were looking crazy? Do y'all remember this billboard? The Diablo billboard for the video game ad? Speaking of video games, notice how so much predictive programming is put through video games, huh? Welcome to hell, New York, 6623. As the sky was looking like it was in literal hell. It was golden brown through all the debris that was in the sky. I think it was from they said it was from the Canada fires. They said it was from the fires in Canada or something like that. But I guess we'll go back to
the specifics about this person,
NBC
what may
News.
have led up to it, and all the questions that we would normally ask, including the type of weapon that may have been used in this. But obviously, law enforcement, I can tell you, up and down the East Coast tonight, acutely aware of what happened today and following it very closely. And as you and I have discussed on numerous occasions in your exclusive interview with the FBI director, we are no doubt in a heightened threat environment. They've been very concerned about the idea of some sort of a political-based violence, and obviously tonight it appears we've seen exactly that, Lester.
All right, Tom Winter, our investigative producer with the very latest. Tom, thanks very much. We should note while you were talking, we got word that the President Biden, will be cutting short his Delaware weekend and heading back to the White House, apparently as a result of all of this. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally. She was there when the shots rang out. Dasha, earlier we saw people, you were talking to people who were leaving the rally site. Were any of them detained, not obviously for suspects, but detained for questioning as witnesses of what they saw?
Yeah, Lester, one of the gentlemen that we spoke with who was right next to the man who was shot and killed. He was just next to him a couple of yards away at the rally. He actually said he helped to carry his body out of the venue. He's an OBGYN from Pennsylvania. His name is Joseph. We spoke with him earlier as we've been in this parking lot. Here you see now night has fallen in Butler County. This parking lot that was just recently filled with thousands and thousands of cars, people who came here for a political rally, never thinking that something like this would happen here in Butler County, a small rural area that's typically pretty quiet. Now this lot is empty, and we did have a conversation with that man, Joseph, who says he has been waiting to speak with Secret Service. We're going to follow up with him to see how that conversation went, but he said he had been planning on having that conversation. I want you to take a listen to some of this interview and some of what he heard. That is where I ran into a man named Joseph, and I want to introduce him to you now. And as we just learned, Joseph, you weren't listening to the program here, but Lester Holt, NBC News, just reporting that one of the attendees has deceased, has died from injuries as a result of the shooting. Joseph, you told me off camera that you may have witnessed this, and I'm so sorry to be talking to you in this tragic moment, but can you describe what it is that you saw?
I was attending the rally. I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where President Trump was speaking. I was there with friends. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed, fell to the bottom of the bleachers. Another woman looked like she got hit in the forearm or hand. And then at that point in time, it was rather chaotic at that point because half the people were looking because they thought it was fireworks. I knew it was gunshots right away.
Said that same exact thing.
My friend,
if you really want to see something, was the cue.
I was kind of looking around just trying to see where the shots were coming from. It seemed to me like the shots were coming from behind the bleachers. It seemed to me the man got hit in the head from behind. He was killed instantly, as far as I could tell. And at that point, state police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind.
And Lester, that's just one of the several harrowing stories that we heard from eyewitnesses today, people of all ages, people talking about the children that they saw, who they are so concerned about, who obviously are going to live with this trauma for the rest of their lives. Our own team, it was myself, my producer Bianca, our cameraman Sirkin, our audio technician.
Let's think about that too, right? While we're on the topic, right? So as she said, the children, the people, there's someone that got supposedly killed, right? Let's think about that. What was the main thing that he said in the beginning, right? Kevin Roberts, if the left allows it. Remember that whole speech about bloodshed? So what if this wasn't even about faking Trump getting shot as much as it was about, again, a warning to America that he can make shit happen like that and someone could be an innocent bystander. Let's think about that in particular, right? Someone actually did die. Think about that too. If someone actually did die, people getting shot at in a crowd. A mass shooting happening at a Trump rally. Think about that too. A mass shooting happening at a Trump rally. You've seen nothing but predictive programming to where you're not even surprised that this actually happened, are you? Think about that.
Henry, our embed Jake, we were all there. We were all in the press pen when we heard those shots first ring out. All of us initially thinking this must be fireworks. There's no way this could happen here. We know how intense the security is around these events. And then coming to realize the reality of the situation, that it was, in fact, what we fear most when we think about the divisive political environment that we are in right now. I spoke to another woman named Vanessa, who was just a few rows behind the former president. She says she witnessed him turn his head to point out a screen that was on the side of him where there was a chart showing immigration statistics. He turned to point at the moment that she saw that blood come out of his ear that we now know from his own True Social post was a bullet grazing his ear. She says if he hadn't turned his head at that very moment, things could have been very different for the former president and the current Republican candidate for president of the United States, Lester.
Yeah, I think anybody that looks at that picture comes to the same conclusion how close this was. Dasha, thanks. Rico Elmore was at the Trump rally and spoke at the event. He was an eyewitness and says he saw someone get hit by gunfire and rush to their side. He joins me on the phone. Rico, where were you in relation to the president?
So I was about 15, 20 feet to the president's right. I was a special guest, being that I spoke today with a few other friends of
I'm
mine.
just gonna say this
who
right
were
now.
speaking as well.
Don't he look like the dude that was running in Power? Tell me I'm wrong. Don't he look like the dude that was against Ghost running in Power?
And yeah, like 15, 20 feet away.
I know I ain't bugging.
As the shots rang out, did you identify them as shots right away? How did you react?
So, a part of me thought they were fireworks. It was like a split mental thought, because I'm like, oh, you can't have a gun or anything in this area because of the security measures that are in place. It's impossible. So my brain says that's a firework going off. How did I get here? Who knows? But it's something small. And then I heard the second shot go off, and like I said, these were split seconds. So like, I said that's a gun. It's a firearm. So I got up. I yelled, everyone to get down. Everybody was getting down. Everybody was yelling, get down. I told people to get down. And then as I'm just pointing people and telling people, like, you know, get down. It's safe measures. And people were listening. And then I seen they had yelled for the medic, and there was an individual who was hit in the head. And there was no medical personnel in the area. So I ran to try to get them, you know, to get help.
Was this the individual that we believe was deceased?
Yes. I ran. I jumped over the barrier that was
Yes,
there.
Zane. Yes.
I ran up.
That's another thing I want people to understand too. While y'all are listening to this, notice how, and even in the headlines, if you look, they keep saying president. Again, this is all predictive programming. They keep identifying Trump as the president already. Think about that. They keep calling him the president.
The bleachers, and there was a towel that the people had, and I took the towel and I pushed it against the deceased head, and just to try to, it's all I could think about doing was trying to, you know, help him, but my efforts were in vain.
Yeah, Rico, you went to what was supposed to be a rally. It's supposed to be a fun thing for, you know, the party and candidate faithful, and it turns to this. These things sometimes take a long time to sink in, to know how close you were to danger. But have you seen any of the video, and just share with me your thoughts?
My thoughts are for the family. My thoughts are for the ones that were lost tonight in an act that was senseless and cowardice, all because of a feeling that one would have against an individual. No one had to lose their lives. You have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom to assemble. You have the freedom. You can go protest the fact that President Trump was there. Okay, that's fine. But to try to kill, to shoot into a crowd of thousands of people, I can't fathom that.
Yeah.
But my heart goes out to the families. It's unreal.
When did you realize the former president had been shot?
I didn't.
See,
Secret Service protects the president.
So they surrounded him as they're supposed to do.
They did their job. My job was to get to the victims and to the people. I mean, that's what I felt my job was to do. You know.
Are you attending the Republican National Convention this week?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, Rico, thank you so much for.
Unless.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unless you know, they call me up and say we want you to attend and we'll fly you out here, I'm not attending.
Okay. Understood. Listen, thank you for talking to us. I'm sorry you had to witness what you did. It's awful to hear, and
that's the thing, man. We in them times again, man. It's gotten crazy, man. Today definitely is up, man. Today's show is up. DJ Bear Gang, what it do, my brother? What it do? Next weekend we must link. I'll be out in your neck of the woods, DJ Bear Gang. Shout out to you, my brother. But this the times that we are in, man. And you hear the brother Rashad. That's what I'm gonna call him. The brother Rashad is, of course, Project 2025 is about the war on us. So of course you got brother Rashad saying, "Yo, man, I almost got hit today. I almost got killed today with the president, man. It's getting real out here." You hear brother Rashad?
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Garrett Hake covers former President Trump, and Garrett, Donald Trump has posted tonight on Truth Social. He filled in a lot of the blanks for us. Give us a sense of what he wrote.
That's right, Lester. While Donald Trump's campaign has been all but silent tonight, the candidate himself has been speaking out on Truth Social, in which he describes the incident from his perspective, talking about being up on stage and saying that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. He says, "I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place," he said, "so I realized then what had happened." Lester, the former president also thanks law enforcement and offers his condolences to the person who was killed at the rally and another, he says, who was badly injured.
Think about what he just said right there, right? Trump didn't even feel his own bullet. You literally heard him say that. He didn't feel his own fucking bullet. So, correct me if I'm wrong. How do you not know that you got grazed by a bullet until you just notice you're bleeding? You didn't even feel your own bullet?
I said that's the gun.
Run it back over here.
Sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, he said, so I realized then what had happened. Lester, the former president also thanks law enforcement and offers his condolences to the person who was killed at the rally and another, he says, who was badly injured. I think we now know that there were two people who were badly injured. He also talks about the idea that he says it's incredible that an act like this can take place in our country, and says that even he knew nothing about the shooter at the time. That has been the only communication we have gotten from Donald Trump directly. What more we've been able to piece together has come from his son, Donald Trump Jr., who said on his social media that he had spoken with his father and that he was in good spirits, and from a statement combined from the RNC and from the Trump campaign about the convention set to get underway in Milwaukee on Monday that you were just describing, essentially saying that the convention will move forward and that Donald Trump looks forward to seeing people there, some 50,000 people expected to descend on Milwaukee. That's most of what we know about the former president's condition right now. We have no indication that he's been discharged from the hospital, no indication that he's returned to his plane or left the Pennsylvania area. He had nothing on his official calendar tomorrow. We were not expecting to see him pop up anywhere on Sunday. And on Monday, obviously, with the convention getting underway, we did expect to hear, perhaps by some point early Monday, who his choice for a vice presidential running mate was going to be. There'd been a lot of speculation, obviously, coming into this weekend, the last before the convention, that announcement could have come at today's rally. I guess now we will never know. But the nomination of the VP and of the nominee, the president, if you will, Donald Trump, is set to take place on Monday. So we will have to know that name at some point. How that announcement goes forward, in what capacity it goes forward, are one of the thousands of political questions that are going to come out of this moment, something unlike which we have ever seen before in American politics. I can tell you that one of Donald Trump's most senior campaign advisors, his de facto campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, who was with him at this rally in Pennsylvania, has also posted posted on social media recently, and I think it's a bit of a preview of what we're going to hear from the campaign, and certainly what we're hearing from the kind of greater MAGA universe of Trump supporters. He writes, Chris LaCivita, the campaign manager, writes, for years, even today, leftist activists, Democratic donors, and now even Joe Biden, he alludes to a comment from the current president, he says, have made disgusting remarks and descriptions of shooting Donald Trump. It's high time they be held accountable for it. The best way is through the ballot box. So at least the campaign manager, and Lester, I suspect soon the greater campaign apparatus and Republican Party, I think was going to take this moment to turn the language that we've been using collectively about this campaign, the stakes of it, on its head, and try to use it as a way to say both the temperature has to come down, and that somehow, as LaCivita says, those on the left should be punished electorally for what happened to Donald Trump today.
Garrett, does the former president typically go home, or does he sleep on the road when he's on these campaign trips?
No, Lester, he almost never sleeps on the road. Donald Trump prefers to sleep at his own properties. So depending on where he is in the country, we often see him either return to Mar-a-Lago in Florida, to his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, or to Trump Tower in New York City, or to a Trump property, either in a place like Trump hotel property, either in a place like Chicago or Las Vegas. It was our understanding he'd be going back to one of the Trump properties on the East Coast tonight, most likely Bedminster, his golf club in New Jersey. From there, he would travel to Milwaukee. Whether that plan changes tonight, I think is an open question. Obviously, Mar-a-Lago, all these properties are secured. We've heard from the NYPD tonight that they're sending extra resources to Trump Tower. All of these were properties that were secured by the Secret Service when Donald Trump was president. I can't speak to which ones are more secure than others, but I can say that obviously Mar-a-Lago is a private club, but it's a functioning, members-only club. So Donald Trump lives in a separate portion of that when he is there. At Bedminster, typically much fewer staff, much smaller footprint, less folks around. I would be speculating, but I can imagine you would probably want to be at one of these smaller, more easily protected locations here tonight, maybe less likely to go back to a place like Mar-a-Lago where other folks are likely to be there tonight.
Yeah. All right, Garrett Haake, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. Our senior White House correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell, joins us with her latest reporting. We understand President Biden is on the move this evening.
It is unusual to see the president traveling very late at night, but these circumstances have warranted that in his judgment. He will be leaving his Rehoboth Beach, Delaware residence and traveling back to the White House tonight. We expect that he will arrive here in Washington after midnight, returning to the White House sometime around 12:30 in the morning. This is a change in his schedule. It is absolutely as a result of the incident today. We heard from the president publicly in two forms already tonight. First, a written statement, and then, as you were in the chair earlier, when he spoke to the small group of reporters with him in Delaware, known as the Traveling Press Pool, and he addressed the concerns about this incident and said that he was trying to reach former President Trump to speak to him directly and personally by phone. They had not done so at that point. He described how he has been briefed by the head of the Secret Service, his Secretary of Homeland Security, and also other officials, including his Homeland Security advisor within the White House, who would be steeped in the knowledge of any potential threats. The president saying that he, of course, wants everyone across the political spectrum throughout the country to stand against acts of political violence, saying it cannot happen in America, should not happen in America. So with that as the backdrop, the president will be traveling back here tonight. We don't have specifics about how his schedule might change further. He certainly had plenty of events coming up in the days ahead. So that will be kind of a piece-by-piece moment as they assess the status of the investigation. I expect the president would want to have additional briefings, and by coming back to Washington, he could speak directly with some of the officials who are based here. Separately, I've been doing reporting that really began before this incident took place about changes coming at the Secret Service because of the Trump candidacy, going from former president who has a certain level of Secret Service detail to the status of being the presumptive nominee, about to be formally the nominee of the Republican Party, and the fact that they had made plans to increase the size of his protective detail and the teams around him because because of the change in campaign pace and because of the necessities of travel. That certainly is borne out by these awful events today. In addition, 3 plane loads of chartered aircraft, 3 planes carrying Secret Service personnel traveled yesterday from their various assignments to Milwaukee for the convention, where they were intended to be going for a few purposes. Of course, all the related security for the convention itself, but also including the detail in waiting for the running mate selection, depending on the choice made by the former president about who he will run with on the ticket. And so preparing for that person's immediate family to be protected by Secret Service, adding another protectee in the sphere of what the Secret Service does. So these are some of the moving parts that are happening. Big questions, of course, about how does the political calendar change because of that? What's happening with the investigative pieces, learning many more details about who has been harmed today, the innocent victims who have been caught up in this, as well as a real medical status on the former president, and any information that we can gain through our reporting and with our law enforcement reporting colleagues about the suspected attempted assassin here, the gunman responsible. All of that unfolding on a Saturday night in a steamy Washington as we are trying to learn more details. For the president to be back here, that of course gives him easy access to convene meetings with his officials, and we'll stay on it as there are additional developments. Of course, the Secret Service provided some details that you've discussed at length tonight, having covered many Trump rallies when he was president and when he was a candidate in the last cycle. These are such well-attended events, huge crowds
I just can't believe
often,
we're in these times
and
right now.
covering events for the current
can't.
president, President Biden, where he is out on the campaign trail. The security always includes a lot of screening, and that's why it was so notable that we were able to report that this gunman taken out and neutralized in the term of law enforcement by the Secret Service was outside that perimeter. Many questions still to be explored and investigation to be done. But President Biden will be returning here tonight, and we hope to have an update on whether he has reached the former president.
Biden, they got up out of here. Biden, they got up out of here. They say, you know what, Biden, it's time for you to bed. It's time for you to go to bed, sir. It's time for you to go home. It's time for you to go to bed. We don't get you there by 11, 12 o'clock, but you know what I mean? You can sleep on the way here. So this is the times that we're in right now. Why can't we see people who were injured? Yeah. That's the thing. That's how the crisis acting works, though. We're not going to know about those people until they figure out how they're going to release that information to the media. That's the thing. Yeah, and whose blood? This whole thing looks like a WWE event, doesn't it? And Donald Trump himself has been to WWE, is he not? I'm just saying. If a bullet was to tear off flesh on the top of his ear would not still be there. Let me also say that too. The man said that he got grazed by a bullet in that it tipped his ear. The top of that ear would not still be there in this picture. That was another reason I took this picture right here and put it close up to you. That ear would not still be there. I just want y'all to understand that part too. That the top of that ear would not still be there if a bullet hit. Think about that. I'll say this again. The top of that ear would not fucking be there if a bullet hit it. Just think about that tonight, y'all. It's only up from here.